Mikey Havoc, welcome to Between Two Beers.
Wasn't a dramatic opening at all, was
Yeah.
it supposed to be?
Needed a can.
I normally go for the cans and they've got a bit more pop to them. That was a bottle
I like
opening.
the way you've upped the sophistication for me, though, with the glass bottle.
Yeah, all
He's
class
a
for
bottle
you.
man. A bottle man, you thought. Yeah.
All class for you, Mikey. We're recording in the Export Beer Garden studio tonight. Must feel a little bit like returning to home. Export sort of propped your shows up for a few years, didn't they, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's great, that.
Good.
Do you
Good
want to
sponsor.
talk about that?
No. We'll move on.
No. They were very good to us for a long time, and they let us put them in the show the way that we wanted to, which was important. Yeah,
That was important. Hey, you were most recently on our screens in The Masked Singer.
that's right.
And,
Right.
I saw some clipping. It might have been some promo material, and it sort of said it was combining your two favourite things, which were masks and singing.
Two of my favourite things. Yes.
Two of your
definitely,
favourite. How was that experience for you?
The singing part of it, I absolutely loved. I loved sort of having to learn some songs that, like, you try singing different sorts of songs all the time, and but to sing songs that you wouldn't normally sing to a level where you're going to go into a recording studio and record them, and that was cool. That was really awesome, man. Plus there's three. It sucked in New Zealand. You missed out because there's three songs that you didn't get to see by voting me off.
Maybe you could release your own masked singer. Maybe it's just pop one of your masks back
and
on.
maybe I'll be lucky enough to get the head that's 3 times bigger than everybody else's head on their costume, like it did this time around.
Yeah, it was a big,
it's massive head. Maybe they just scale sort of ratio with my head. It's got a big head anyway, but also hot.
Yeah.
Damn, that costume was so like that part of it was. I really was looking forward to that because I love I like masks. I like dressing up like this sort of thing, and I like the how ludicrous that is, that in that particular show. It's actually, which when I started out, I thought it was really ludicrous. I just thought, what am I doing this for? and then, but I kind of get it, and I get it. It's funny when you ask people, because I couldn't tell anyone I was on it,
Yeah.
And so you're asking people, do they watch it just sort of in passing, the way you're doing, hey, fellas, let's say there are a group of fellas on the street. If you
You didn't catch the masked singer the other night, did you? I happened to watch it,
You
actually.
didn't see last season? Oh, no, last season was really great. Yeah, this season, I believe, is going to be very good. That sort of thing. And it's, so you just sort of garnering people's reaction, and it was, and no one seemed to talk about it. And then suddenly, once it was on, everybody, you guys all saw it, everyone saw it. It's like, what sneaky little bit of variety. I think I've always been a big believer that variety TV is something we're really lacking here in New Zealand. I think we really, if we just pulled it, just calm down a wee bit and just enjoyed ourselves, we actually would really love it. I think that's something that's really missing on TV. Now I've gone and given my secret away.
Yeah.
I did want to know, though, I'm a big reality, variety TV fan.
What about the reality TV? It's just not reality.
Yeah, well, scripted reality. How constricting is actually trying to perform with kind of a physical impairment on top of your head?
I wonder whether I'm allowed to say this. Super constricting. That was really, really. I found that really kind of bummed me out, actually, because it was like, I don't know, I feel like I'm sort of not supposed to talk about this, but sure that you
Trade secrets getting released.
Yeah. Well, okay. So one thing I can tell you now. I have no idea. I haven't watched it since I got voted off. Oh, bitter, eh?
Yeah. Why would you? And why would you?
It was a good show until you got voted off.
Yeah. I mean, I know. It's not chunky nowadays. Yeah.
And neither have we.
Yeah. Same. Thank you. I had no idea, not for a second, who any of the other contestants were. That part of it, they did really well. They kept the secret thing. Even we'd go up and record, and there's little, those like the clue bits, the clues.
Yeah, I saw those. They were really good.
But when you record those, the voiceovers bits for those, they put a voice changer on it so they don't know who you are, and then you go up in the office at the production company. But you go into the office of the production company with a robe on, mask on,
Seriously?
sunglasses, sneak in there, and even to the point where the bit that freaked me out the most is when we recorded the performance stuff. When you get to backstage where there's a lot of action going on, you just go to a tiny little room, and there's you deal with 3 people face to face the whole time, pretty much.
Face to face or face to mask?
Well, no, face to face, because they're the ones who made the costume and they're fitting you in the costume, or the ones who, between your 1.5 minute performance pieces, you're spending 10 minutes getting fanned and cooled down because it's so hot. That's all. That's gnarly. They're going to die. But walking from, like, once you get to the backstage area with the crew will turn around and face the wall like Blair Witch Project.
Really?
Yeah, and that was weird. Until, of course, you get voted off, And then they're all like, hi, Mike, here again. And then the mystery's all gone.
Oh, wow.
And then just
Wow.
like, oh. And that was really quite brutal. I found that quite brutal. Yeah,
Was it
so-
Shaggy Sheep? Was it?
Shaggy Sheepdog? I think you
Shaggy
need that. You
Sheepdog.
need to
Shaggy
the
Sheep.
answer to
Well,
that.
I wanted to
Just
know.
want to hear me say it.
I wanted to know. Do you get to name your character, or they go you are
And did I want to be the robot? Yes.
right?
Or the gladiator alligator thing.
So you don't get a choice. You don't go, I'm going to be this one. They just go, you are.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the first time that you actually even put the costume on or even see it in real life is about 10 minutes before you do your performance.
Amazing.
There you go.
And I couldn't. The one thing that freaked me out the most was how hot it was, and I knew there was going to be issues about moving in it, you know.
Yeah.
But it was so hot, and I couldn't see the edge of the stage. I couldn't see where anything was.
I was wondering that too, because you
Yeah.
must have restricted vision also.
Yeah, and I didn't want to fall off the stage or turn an ankle. Or
Sheepdog,
something.
sheepdog, stop.
Someone would be whistling me. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Between Two Beers fans are big fans of Masked Singer. Oh,
Yeah.
God, I can't
Well,
even
slow
talk.
down,
I mean,
mate.
I'm into
Slow
it.
down.
It's been a long day.
I'm pro Masked Singer.
Yeah.
Let's just say that now. I think it was and I loved the singing, but man, once I finished recording those songs, the ones I did, all I wanted, and you know, and once I went to where I suppose, all I wanted to do, man, is just get up and just do singing for the rest of my life. I was
Really?
like, yeah, I just loved
Rekindled
it.
that fire.
Well, no,
Has it never gone away?
I've just got better at it, you know. It's like, and I just love it, man. I say this a lot, but it's something that has really in the last sort of like 5 or 10 years, say the last 10 years maybe, just the whole concept of singing, especially the type of singing that I do, and you know that sort of it's quite physical singing, well, just where does that come from in the world? Like you are a big bag of blood and meat. You know, that somehow your heart keeps a rhythm, and you somehow held everything's held together somehow with atoms and bits and bolts. You know, all that technical stuff. You know, and you can summon up the most amazing, powerful volume if you want to. You know, like if you really get just out of that bag of blood and meat.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can like when we were on tour in Australia and stuff years ago with Push. We do like we were really hammering it. Some weekends we do like two shows one night and 3 shows another night. You know, so from get in the van, just sort of thing. And the first show is sort of all right, second show your voice is just terrible, and the third show somehow just pull it out of the ether somewhere. And you know, like, and how's it work? I don't get how that works. And I just think that there's something really quite amazing about the voice and singing, and I think it's really good for you as well. I think it's like great for you. Like lockdown, not having a band practice was terrible. Yeah, and just singing these songs that I did sing. The other ones that I was going to do was going to be Golden Horse, Maybe Tomorrow.
Good song.
But I sung it down here. That sort of thing. It actually was pretty good in the end. I was iffy about it. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley.
Is that hard to do with just one person? That's a duet normally, is it?
Yeah, but it's been done by like one person many times. And the other one I did. Oh, Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
Levitating.
Oh, nice.
That would have been nice.
Well, I mean, it has that
Go on,
line
give
in
us
it.
give us a little bit.
My sugar boo.
Yeah.
and I tried to the one that you would have seen, the last one that I got voted off with. I don't know, hands up anyone's a Danzig fan.
Oh, yeah. Mother.
Okay, so you know that. Watch it again. Watch that song, begging you. Put your loving hands out, baby. I did a full Danzig tribute to that.
Wow.
Even right to the end, but they cut at the end where it goes, put your loving hands out, baby. And I was going to go, "Dar!" And I recorded that, but they didn't put it in.
Oh,
They would have just
what a-
Danzig the shit out of it.
What a shame.
Fucking editors.
Hey,
But
that's
you know,
great.
extra for experts who watch the Masked Singer and also enjoy Danzig. You
Yeah,
know?
fantastic. Hey, the way we do things at Between Two Beers, Mike, we tell the audience how we know the guest. Shay, how do you know Mikey Havoc?
Super excited for tonight. I was a big fan from the late 90s through 2000.
Just kept on going. Just kept on delivering tonight.
You did. like the Gore stuff, the Bull stuff, Faces of Delight, or if you're in the islands, Kumface.
Thank you.
Yeah, like it's just stood the test of time.
Put a
And I-
note next to that because there's a good story I can tell you about that.
Oh, we'll do. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But I've had such a wonderful time the last couple of days just revisiting some of those,
Oh, cool.
bringing back awesome memories. And I'm just super excited to have you in and kind of unpick away at some of that stuff. So
awesome.
I've got a really fond memory of those times. Stevie, Steve's a few years younger than me, so I don't know if your parents let you stay up late enough to watch some of that stuff.
Did you used to stay up?
I did. But I used to listen to you on BFM when I was doing my paper round, and I watched Havoc and Newsboy religiously. I was about 14 or 15, so I think Jeremy was about 24. You were about 30, 31. You were like the cooler older brothers that I never had.
Were we that cool?
Sorry, don't you were? Well, you were to me. You were to 14.
Steve actually does have an older brother that I thought was quite cool.
But yeah, I'm really excited to unpack all of that stuff. But we're going to start 1986. So 3 kids from Rangitoto College start a band. And you won, is it the Shazam? 4 kids.
Oh, no, 3 kids and my cousin from Glenville.
Yep. There you go. And was it the Shazam video contest?
The national Shazam video contest. Yeah. Shazam was a music TV music show back then. Yeah. And they used to do a battle of the bands, and then, by 1986, video was getting pretty cool, And
so does this predate Smoke Free Rock Quest kind of? Is that the sort of similar
vibe? By miles.
But more for our younger listeners, similar vibe.
I guess it was like school bands send in your songs, but because it was a music video show, it was sending you music videos, and they're pretty clunky, Like looking back at it now, it's better than I remember it being. I thought it was.
So have you got footage of it? Have you?
I found footage. I found this is why I'm telling you guys off. You act like I didn't tell you that just before we started. So I basically had these boxes and boxes and boxes of VHS. Like, I'm going to say boxes, just boxes and boxes of VHS tapes. Some I don't know what's on them. Some I know what's on them. Some I just think, well, that'll just be perished by now. And I finally got a VHS player, which are the hardest things to get in the whole of the world, it turns out. A really good one of those. And then the thing that, the converter thing, go from Mac onto my Mac so I can digitize it, and so then it's not going to perish in a box. Just go when my hard drive dies or something. And so I've been doing that. Boxes and boxes of these tapes, which all are pretty bloody still good. A couple of them got a bit of mold on them, but considering it's been in boxes and sheds and under beds and cupboards.
86 is a long time ago.
86 is a long time ago. Oh yeah, they're still pretty young now. And it's that video is still there. It's cool, man. It's like, look at us pouncing around like a bad version of sort of imagine like a sort of ugly poison with a bit of wasp, just a shade of wasp in there as well, but just pyro going off on stage in the hall at Rangitoto College. Yeah.
So the band formed in 86. In 92, you were named the New Zealand Group of the Year, the New Zealand Music Awards.
We probably formed about 84.
84. When did you know you were onto a really good thing? When did you know that, shit, this is something which has a future?
That's a good question, because I know that we always were focused on it. Like things like we just were always went to band practice was always this time. No one ever got drunk or wasted at band practice. Everyone, we never had other people come to our band practice, which I kind of, was a real thing, and I had a problem with it initially, but then it became quite good because it was just that focus, on doing that sort of thing. I suppose. And just believing at school. I remember like one of our school, Andy, our guitarist, and I in English once in there, and our English teacher just go, "Oh, what do you think? You're going to be as big as the band Queen or something?" Oh, and just like, what a ridiculous thing to say to kids, eh? It's like, what would you like me to be an accountant? I don't know. It's probably, it just seems like a much better job than most other jobs. That was the initial thing. And somehow girls, maybe, apparently there's girls involved, and that was quite a big thing at the time, and just not having to go and work at a bank or go and do insurance or labour or something like that. And that just seemed sort of a great dream to follow. And it sort of just, I don't know, some of the things that we did, we did gigs that we probably, other bands probably wouldn't have done. We sort of just ploughed through and took the shit when other people probably would have, broken down. I know, just, like we sort of hated there for a while, but then loved for a while, and then sort of, and I remember I was working for a company called HMV, which was then turned into Brash's, so it was like a record shops, And I remember going to the Christmas party there and hijacking like the music and just putting this shitty old tape demo that we did and putting it on, just going, and just sort of standing there, making sure no one's going to come turn it off. And then the boss, who's the boss of the whole company, the CEO, was like really drunk. He's like, hey, so you go, rewind it. And he did back to me, this is Mikey's band. It was just terrible. It was like, but I still did it. And I don't really look back at that and go, man, that was pretty bold and kind of stupid, but it's sort of, I guess that sort of thing worked. And we were just into it, and we were getting better at playing, and we were able to, somehow write songs.
So when you put a hit together like Trippin, the first time you play it, do you know you've got gold? Is it not until you put it out there that you realise?
I've told the story many times, but for that particular song, we went to see the Ramones the weekend before. We went to see the Ramones two nights at the power station. I mean, how lucky, And it was awesome, and it was awesome because it was the Ramones, and they're just the Ramones. I love them. I loved them then. I just sort of discovered them maybe a year before. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. But it was quite a heavy punk influence in the crowd, and we were a bunch of glam rockers in the crowd. And it's just like, sort of, okay, let's see how we go here. So I think I felt like I had 2 strokes both nights. So I think I was stuffed and just trying to stay alive in the mosh pit sort of thing. But hey, it did. And then sort of so into that we came to band practice like on the Tuesday, which would be the Tuesday or the Wednesday, and we literally wrote that song, just jamming, just started jamming, just wrote the whole thing in about 8 minutes, probably the way almost like the guitar solo is almost the same as it is now, and I've even got a bit of paper somewhere which says I was tripping out on you and thinking, oh, that sounds fucked, and then just like all these other things and cross them all out and come back down to one. I was tripping out on you, and it's barely changed from when we wrote it. And definitely within half an hour, absolutely, 100%.
Within half an hour, you knew you had an absolute banger on your hands.
Well, we knew that we'd written a song, and that we'd written, which is something that I've really come to. I feel incredibly grateful that that's not something everyone can do, write songs. It's something and a friend of mine at school had said to me at the time, he just sort of pulled me aside and said, how do you come up with like a song? How do you do that? And it made me realise, gee, you're right, I don't really know how, but we sort of just did. And that particular one is, although we loved it straight away, we loved it enough to release it as our first single, so that tells you that much, But I'd never have guessed when we wrote it that it would be. It was like, oh, that can be our punky one that we do, And
I remember when it came out, and I love that you've referenced Poison and cassette tapes already.
Just singles.
Because I had those 2 things. I had Open Up and Say Ah, which I think is around the same time. But I remember thinking, oh, it's like another American band that have come out. Little did I...
Not bad, since you're from New Zealand, for a New Zealand band.
Well, 9-year-old me didn't know any different. But I was like, this is amazing. This is such a cool song. And then I didn't hear anything else.
Yeah.
That was kind of I guess that's my growing up in Taupo, but it was very nostalgic for me now to think back about that time, because it was the first time I was like, wow, Kiwi rock song.
Well, we were sort of, I guess, thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
We were stoked with it, because we released it as our, we came to really think this is a kick-ass song. This is really, like, even though it's easy to write and it's sort of, it seemed for us almost too easy to write, but people loved it, and people loved it when we played it live, and we loved the fact that it was, let's release that. Let's release that. Fuck it. See what, and that, especially nowadays, when people talk, you at the time you sort of, because you're really proud of it and you're into it and you're behind it 100%, but at the same time, a bit of you is like, I hope everyone thinks it's cool, or I kind of wish I was a bit cooler than that. Just dumb shit like that when you're young, and it's not till you get to a certain point where you suddenly go, like, say people tell you stories like that, and you realise, oh my God, that is a bona fide reference point in your life. And it's one of all the other ones from that time take second place to that one, and that reminds you of good times or
I think it was
a moment, and that's really special, man. That's what music is. That's what music suddenly becomes mystical, is because it puts a point down there. It just says, remember then. Everything. If you close your eyes, hear this, and then to that.
I can take you there. It was Rumpus Room, Taupo, RTR, Saturday.
Air guitar,
6
air
o'clock.
guitaring, air banging, must have been.
Here's one.
Did you ever look in the mirror, sing into a hairbrush, pretend to be me?
I didn't go that far, but I had a Lee denim jacket, and I thought I was pretty fucking cool.
I'm down with
pretty fucking cool back then, and I remember the Lee denim ad on TV as well. I'm really gone back nostalgic.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's gone for it. Your story is incredible, because you were a rock star and a radio star and a TV star. But was it true that you pulled 900 people to a record store in Invercargill?
Yeah, man.
Push?
Yeah, that's on that tape that video I was telling you about. I've got the digitized one.
Like, that's such strong pull. Like, Invercargill.
Dude, 900. I don't know if there are 900 people. Like,
yeah, I know.
It felt like the windows were bulging out in that show. It was so great though. Like we were that was when that would have been the tour when Trippin had been released. It was being number one for 6 weeks. I don't even know.
It's in the notes.
26 weeks in the top 50. And
25.
Shit. Yeah, 26. And so yeah, but it was for us. It was bizarre because we were just going shit. You know, people wants to do it. Like, hey, sure. Are we number one again? Like, but the fact we went to number one was just ridiculous, and we were so wow. And everyone's like, "Oh, well, you work in a record shop. You've obviously rigged it." It's just like, yeah, fucked. It's just like, I knew because I was literally selling them all day. Like, going, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks very much. That's my band. It's cheers, you know. And they did like an audit thing on it. The record.
Really?
Yeah, just to make sure that we hadn't rigged it.
Insider trading.
And then it's like another week, and then another week, and another. Yeah, sucked in. Yeah, boom. And yeah, it was like, it was awesome. And I guess that's, you know, and that's back when being number one. Because remember, what's the number one song for the last 4 weeks? You know?
No idea.
No idea, because it's forgotten. It means nothing anymore.
Couldn't tell you.
It's weird, eh?
It'll be on TikTok.
Nicki
It'll be on
Minaj or
TikTok
something.
though.
It'd be something called little
Doja Cat.
little somebody. No, but Doja Cat. See, Doja Cat's old now. You know,
Okay.
but you know what I mean? It's like number one was like you watching RTR, which was of course short for Ready to Roll. Don't remember that. But
Or Radio with Pictures if you were up late
I
on a Friday night.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about Radio with Pictures Sunday night actually.
Oh shit.
And I was thinking about the heavy metal special. It was like before I came here. I was thinking about the heavy metal special that Karen Hay did with Barry Jenkins, I think it was, and how definitive that was in my life as choosing bands like the bands that I'd be into for the next 4 or 5 years after that, you know. But anyway, so what was I saying?
So I've got in my notes 1992 Push named Band of the Year, and then 1993 Push pause. Push.
Nice, very nice, very nice.
Thank you very much. Because you have got back together, and we'll get to that later. But why did it end so suddenly? And I want to sort of link that up to your radio.
So we did quite well in Australia. Like we got to number 12 or something in Australia, which was pretty bloody good. That's a lot of sales, you know. And so we went and basically lived over there for 3.5 months touring, which was cool. You know, it was because
was it rock and roll lifestyle?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't actually know what that means.
The lifestyle part of it is all sitting in a van, driving around from place to place, being anxious about whether the gigs and sell out. Like, you know, we did it. We did like about 3 or 4 weeks of that. We did 3 weeks. I think was with Johnny Diesel as the support for Johnny Diesel. That was really cool. You know, that was a really great thing.
Right on the tip of my tongue. Is that the
right? It was that tour as well. So yeah, so he was. Yeah, the whole thing, and he was really cool, man. They were great to us, and it was good to hang out with. They were like established Aussie crew and rockers.
Were you in like magazines like Smash Hits and stuff like that?
I think so, yeah.
Man, that's cool. Sorry, man.
Like,
I'm really geeking out on
Dial it back, buddy.
But that's back when magazines were big.
Yeah.
It was cool, eh? And it was you know, we lived in King's Cross. That's King's Cross is a horrible place to live. It's a toilet. But it was but yeah, we got to do stuff and hang and meet people. Like, you know, we did a few good sort of semi-sports gigs with other bands over there, and it was cool. And but one thing that I sort of got from it is that when we came home, and basically then the others, everyone we had this big, okay, we're going to move over there, move to Australia. It's more of a potential over there, because in those days you went the way it seemed to be anyway. You go from being playing jamming at schools and rugby clubs and stuff like that, or 21st, and then you maybe release a song and people someone will release it for you for a start, because you had to do that. Then I had to get out to all the shops and then posters, and then put your own poster runs up, and you do that stuff, and then people like the band. And then maybe you do a New Zealand tour. Oh, maybe you're a band who tours New Zealand. Which at the time was pretty a big deal, and not cheap to do, not expensive to do, but not you couldn't just bang it, go ahead and do it, and because you had to go for radio and sort of promotion as well, so people knew you were in town, post, all that sort of stuff, and then if you just do well in New Zealand enough, like we did, then you go to Australia, and then you maybe do Australia, but maybe go to London or LA, and that was like the really big bands did that, and so it wasn't that. It was like we got to Australia and we were there, and I loved it, and I loved the fact that we could do gigs and you could play to a whole room of people who'd never ever seen you before, and who didn't even really know what they're going to see you for anyway, but they just go out to see bands, and that was cool. I love that. And but when we came back and everyone sort of wanted to do that, it was like, okay, yeah, I was into it, and then I just suddenly thought, no, we're just going to get over there. And the problems with Australia, and I think you can see this in a lot of bands, bands like sort of for some reason the name, that band, Baby, get away. They have the choir boys, like you can be they're massive in Australia when we were there, but they just toured around Australia. They just did that, and it was just like, I could see us, just the sort of music we're making and the sort of the crowd that we already knew was there. We could do that. We'd probably tour Australia for a couple of years, but then we would have toured Australia for a couple of years, and things were getting a little bit tense as far as our relationships with each other anyway, for a few of us. And so right before, when half of the others already left to go live there, I pulled out of the deal. It was pretty lame, but at the same time, at least I did that. At least I didn't go over there and just hate it and be miserable and just try and destroy it from inside that way, But,
sort of closes the door on the Rockstar chapter. And then how soon did you get into the BFM studio? Did you have a year figuring out what you were going to do, or what was the transition like?
Well, I guess within a year, I was sort of playing in a band of friends, other people who said, come, we haven't got a singer, come in and sing for us. And it was really a band called Element. And it was really quite alternative stuff, which is the music that I was really starting to get into, like on our second single, What My Baby Likes. I'm wearing a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt in the video, and it's right back when the first album came out, sort of thing. It's like, I've been really just starting to really get into that sort of the emerging alternative thing, I guess. And this band Element was like that. And so we did quite a few gigs where I wasn't the singer of Push Push, I was the singer of Element, and so I guess for some of the bands, but I'm just trying to remember exactly what the time was. I know, no, that can't be right, and I'm sorry, I've jumped ahead. No, it was because when I went to do an ad at BFM. BFM's policy, good policy too, is that you can't advertise with them unless they get to make the ad. Okay, and so I went up there to help make the ad, and I went up there, and having gone to radio stations and been interviewed by New Zealand radio for years and years by that stage, I just thought everybody that worked in radio were complete dicks. Dicks. Like bar 3 or 4 people, Yeah. And it's just like radio's full of dicks. And got up there and went, this is cool over here, though. These guys this is quite fun. Look how this is nutty and no one really gives too much of a shit, but they give more of a shit. And it was, I don't know, I just liked the people up there, and I sort of really gravitated towards them. And then that sort of ended up with me DJing somehow getting asked to DJ, via people that I used to work, and because I used to work in record shops as well around Auckland, sort of music industry, that sort of, so you're still sort of in there, and so I wasn't just sort of out by myself, lonely in the town, sort of thing, and that became sort of just, I don't know, all I remember was getting offered the breakfast show there and going, like I did the first show I ever did there was called Be by Candlelight, and it was basically just like really cool alternative stuff that you listen to if you're on ecstasy. And I'd mix it with, that's wicked for your ways that we have. And it sort of, and then I remember getting offered the breakfast show like really early on because suddenly they had a gap for it, and I was like, "You're going to offer me your breakfast show? Are you serious?" And I felt when I was up at BFM initially, when I say initially, probably for about easily the first 10, 12 years, that I just didn't fit in there at all. I loved it. I loved it up there. I loved the people up there, but I just, as far as fitting in, like, oh, here comes the shouting guy. Great. Here comes Mr. Enthusiastic. Play some more Rage Against the Machine. Whatever. But it was like, it was for a long time, man. Like for a really unexpectedly long time, I didn't feel like I fit in up there. Like it wasn't really till the last couple of years, actually. And if I say 100% fit in,
We've had Jason Hoyt and Lee Hart on the show, and their Boujar show, they talked about how they did no planning, basically. They figured out what they were going to say when the light came on. Was that your experience? Like, how much prep went into your breakfast radio show?
A lot went into it. Somebody watching this lie. No, none. No, not none. But I became really. It's something. It was a really interesting thing to become good at doing, And as far as like to realize that I was, oh my gosh, they say people like this, and this is like, wow, that's cool. I have to get up early every morning. I fucking still hate, but it's I don't know. You sort of. It's like same with the TV. We did every TV show I've ever done that I was part of the that was sort of when I say it's my show. I was part of the creative part of it. I've done like a couple of documentary series and stuff like that, which I wasn't. But almost every show I've ever done has never had a script on TV or anything. What started out as just being time to do it or something like that, and then suddenly realising that, especially when we started on TV, was that by doing a script, you've suddenly got to show it to somebody, and by showing it to somebody, that means that you're asking for their opinion on it.
Yeah.
And them giving their opinion on it, does that mean you have to change it? When you know that it's, I mean, maybe it's arrogant to think that, but just if it's right, it's right. Just leave it. And the best thing is if it's up here and it's working up here, and if I turn around to you and I go, hey, and you get it, okay, well, sweet, that's fine. Let's just do it. That sort of thing. And the radio was a lot like that. It didn't so much have a script, but it definitely had. It very quickly became a thing where how I wanted it to sound and how I wanted you to feel at the end of it, and how I was prepared to. How far I was prepared to go on it, and the type of people I'd bring into it, the type of things we talk about, the type of all that sort of stuff. It became really quite a personal, and I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity to be able to do that. I can't think of anybody else in this country that's ever had the chance to spend that long in such a unique and position where you can just be constantly creative the whole time, and then play your favorite songs the whole time.
I was going to ask you, was it more about the music, or was it just everything about it was
everything?
Everything
was like da 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 da. You know what would be great now? This and I can just do it. You don't have to. It's not the next thing on the list. You can just go. Actually, we're going to do that. Let's just do this, or let's actually get a bit crude here. Let's make this normal conversation sound really dirty all of a sudden. Now let's get that guy in who we'd normally never interview for anything, and now let's let this band take over for the whole rest of the show, or just to have the room to move. Like, oddly enough, made it a better show. Who would have thought? That they're being told what to do and having a really scripted, pre-prepared sort of knowing exactly what's going to happen for the next 2 hours show wouldn't be as great.
No, it's a creative genius, and not having a script, like, that's why I tuned in. I remember, funnily enough, I would switch. I'd used to do a paper run, and I'd listen to JJ and Dom on the Edge, and then I'd listen to you on BFM, like worlds apart in what you're doing.
They got married.
But the unexpected of you wouldn't know what you were going to say. You wouldn't know what was coming up because you didn't know yourself.
And that was the beauty of it. It was like always in the back of your head, you're going, what should we do next? What's going on? Or this. I'm looking forward to that. But we've got a minute. We could just like I went up there the other day. I went to BFM the other day to just drop in on the drive show with my friend Johnny, who does it, and we just had the best hour of the royal funeral special. And it was all completely off the cuff. Basically, he just basically said, "Do you want to come up and just hang out on the show?" I was like, "Yeah." But what should I do? It was all about the funeral, and just took up like 5 songs. And the first one was this big one, this whole big crapped on about for about 10 minutes. I made up a story which I've just told a friend of mine just before I came here. I was telling him on the phone about it, and I said, Johnny was really upset when the Queen died, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, was he really like this? No, he wasn't. I'm making it up, sort of thing. Just, bro, and this whole thing about, the Queen Elizabeth II, her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth II, and what a reign, and did all this crap. And then this whole thing about King Charles III and what we look forward to in the future. And so Johnny asked me to play this song, and this is all just like, because you've got the time to do it, you've got the space to do it, and then and so the song, listen to the lyrics, it's I think it's really important. And played the theme to Charles in Charge, the sitcom. And I can't believe that nobody else thought of that joke. Go the old Have. Boom. New boy in the neighborhood. Right now he's understood. He's right here to take good care of me, like he's one of the family. Charles in Charge. And it's just like, fuck. It was, that was so. It was just funny. And it was just came up with about 10 minutes. Had the space to do it. He let me do it, and so he turned out great. Who would have thought? So like I love it. I just don't know. I know that when I had my little dalliance with commercial radio, it was good for a while, but then it was when it got a bit weird was when you start getting told what New Zealanders like. No, don't do that. New Zealanders like this. Oh, do they? Okay. And but like I've always been a big believer with the radio and TV, and what my substantial gut sort of tells me, and the times when I haven't gone with what my gut's telling me have been the times when I fucked it up.
So you're talking about the switch to Hodaki, right?
I mean, I wasn't going to mention them, but
Yeah. When were you the only DJ able to play your own songs on commercial radio?
When I first started, I did nights, and And it was. I mean, I really liked working for commercial radio. I really liked working for Hauraki at the time. You know, and it's a bummer sort of ends up the way it did. But when Lee and Jason stole my job, actually. No, I'll say that. But no, it was to come on and just sort of the program just said to me, come on, just do your thing. You do your thing on Hauraki. And it's like, and I was nervous as all hell, to be honest, because it was like it's like, but I do my thing from up there at that stinky old station with one toilet up there. The students, Did
you think it was going to be as easy as just picking it up and then plotting it down?
I knew it wasn't going to be, but I kind of hoped it was going to be that easy, but I didn't think it was going to be that easy. And what did freaks me out, the pre-recording thing, commercial radio. How much of it's how much of what you're listening to, thinking that's happening right now, isn't happening right now. And initially they were always saying, just pre-record that part. No, but what if a meteor hits? So, this is like, I genuinely think that. So like, that responsibility you've got as an on-air broadcaster is, what if something happens and you're going, oh, what a great afternoon we're having there, but there's there's been a mosque shooting or something, something like that, just something dramatic like that. To not be able to react to that in real time and to be chuckling away and coming up after the break, we'll pop down to the tire shop and see what's happening. It's going to be great. That's ugh. Everything I despise about it. But so what was your question?
Well, I want to actually sort of chart the path back to the glorious.
You're the path charter.
90s. I'm the path charter.
You'd like to chart the path. As a path charter, you like to chart the path.
I do, and I want to get us. I want to sort of transition us from radio to TV. But it starts, I think, with Jeremy Wells. When did you meet him?
Well,
in the BFM
it was quite a long time after I started radio when Jeremy and I still got together. The TV thing we had was happening before. Okay, so the TV thing happened when I had Squid Bar. I was working at Squid Bar, and I was doing stuff on BFM, and I sort of was like, could do it a bit because BFM not a big money gig, that one. Squid Bar, bones my ass, working my ass off, but great times, but just sort of could do with some more money. Yeah? And some friends of mine were up there. One was a DJ at BFM and his friend, and they both did a show called Sports Night.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, give us a job. And people had, like, same with the radio thing. People always said to me, oh, you'd be great on radio. I was like, radio, they're all dicks. You'd be great on TV. And I just couldn't see it. I like Guy Smiley from Sesame Street. That's sort of that's what I thought was a good TV presenter, and so on too good, I suppose. But and I never really, and then I just thought, oh, sure I can do it. And it was starting to get to that thing where you weren't, the people that were doing the commentary and the people that were on screen weren't necessarily the professionals of that, whatever it was, like a snooker player or whatever. So I thought I could be like a reporter on.
You the snowboard reporter?
I was the snowboard reporter. Hands up who could snowboard. Not me. Couldn't snowboard at all. And at all. So I taught myself over a couple of weeks. But what actually happened is that we'd go off to, and so they gave me that job, which was cool. It was awesome. And that's where I got to meet a guy called Nick Craig, and then we went off to do these snowboarding things. And then we just, 4 out of 5 times at one stage, we'd get there, and the weather just, and so we'd spend the whole weekend just in a hotel room getting wasted, or just sitting there and just going, oh no, just getting this conversation. If I had my dream TV show, I'd do this, blah, blah, blah. And that's where it came from. And then it was just like, that's, and then sitting there and going, watching the show and going, how much of this half hour of TV we just watched? What do you reckon the budget of that was? And someone to find out, and you go, really? I could for 40 grand. Give me 40 grand, I'll do a better half hour of TV than that. And that's literally that was the genesis of the idea. And then it was just like, well, what would you put on it? Well, what's been working on the radio and sort of just thinking around, coming out of that, blah, 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 and just sort of, having that, like I guess coming back to what I was saying before about having the elasticity and the room to move on BFM. As far as ideas and just, the stupidest shit. Yeah. That you think, that's so ridiculous. And then, but it actually becomes the thing that everyone wants to hear every week. It's like, and that's, and having that room to move there, I guess, meant that when we were concepting the idea of the TV show, we just went, we could do this and this and this. And so, and initially it started off live, the TV show. It started off like 5 nights a week live on MTV, which was I pitched it to Neil Roberts as a once a week hour-long magazine show, and which was like a youth, basically like a BFM TV sort of thing, and at one stage there they said to me when they said yes to that, then they said, oh, come on and maybe just they wanted to do a couple of sort of trial gigs beforehand, I said no to them all. And they were like really just going to say no to that. Yeah, one of them was like a show called Two People, which was Craig Parker, Teresa Healy, just being like young and just talking about movies and stuff like that. And I went no, and I was going to be the third like wacky presenter on that, and they were really quite pissed off that I didn't say yes to that and couldn't really understand. And but guess what? That show died in 4 episodes. Booshka! Yeah. Yes, I was right. Anyway, my gut again, and but. Yeah, and I guess that's where the whole thing sort of came from. Was like,
so I watched the first episode of Havoc this morning in preparation for this episode.
The one with Darcy and Angela.
Angela, and Bill Ralston on the couch, and Jeremy there with his sort of blowout haircut on the couch, looking a little bit nervous. But I'm interested in that. Like, how did you choose? So you got the show, right? They give it to you, half an hour slot, 9:30 to 10 on MTV, Monday to Friday, live.
Oh, no. So that was pictured as the hour-long show, and then Neil takes me out for lunch and goes, right now. Like, firstly, he just says, we've done this whole presentation and then put together a whole bunch of people and ta-da! He just goes, flick. Like, and I humiliate myself by going, I just think maybe if you just go back, have another look, there's some really good ideas. He looks at me and goes, you've got your show, what are you going to put on it? I was just like, oh, fuck, I'm okay. And then he takes me out for lunch the next weekend and goes, so your show? And I'm like, he's going to blow it out. Damn, he goes, it's changing. I was like, no, what are they going to want me to do here? I'm going to have to be some gimp, and then they're like, he's like, you're going to do it live? I'm like, no, but seriously, what? He's like, we're going to do it live 5 nights a week. I'm like, fuck off, we not. What are you talking about, man? Yeah, and he just said, yeah, man, it'll be awesome. And just like
live 5 nights a week is such a heavy duty gig,
man. But once again, I guess it put us into a headspace of, and by that stage, Jeremy wasn't even on it. Jeremy wasn't even part of the show at that stage. It was like we were working together on BFM. Like he'd become Newsboy, which was just some stupid thing where we were just talking about superhero names and how wouldn't it be cool if all the news team had superhero names? What do you want to be? Throat Girl and Woman and Newsboy. It's as stupid as that came up, and it went for years, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then it was my initial thing was taking him over to the band rotunda at Albert Park and going. Hey, so I've got this TV show, man. Like they give me a TV show on TV. It's going to be the same. Do you want to be on? He's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I just actually want just to like be available every show, just to sort of say something. And this year was just going to be like a word or a sentence per show. That's seriously, that's what's going to be, and that's what we sort of decided. He's kind of, I don't know about that. And I was like, okay, we just work. There's something about us that's working. Yeah. And it's amazing to look back on that and go, that was cool that I did that. It's lucky, like how to have read that sort of thing early on and gone, and it meant that by having so then there's the two of us presenting it, and you can see, like I say, he's nervous. I was nervous as hell, I've been talking it up, of course, some months on the radio as well. There's a big episode coming up, but it was still happening, and if I can't imagine what was going through Jeremy's head, like in the show,
Was it that different? Because you were doing live radio, so was it just the fact that the cameras were there?
Fuck yes. Okay, so totally, man. It's just like it's basically you can't. The beauty of radio and the thing I love the most about it is that you just say, like, once you've said it, that's it. Done. It's like you better be sure that you can't just you have to own it the whole time. TV is the same, especially live TV is the same in that respect. So you're right there, but just the whole, radio. If you're nervous, you can just look away for a second. TV, you just have to.
Right.
Okay, if someone's in your ear going, "Okay, we've got 20 seconds." I don't know. You can't be seen. I don't know. Yeah, and you worry about your looks. Early 30s, sort of thing at the time. It's just like the whole thing was. But at the same time. There wasn't, when we first started MTV, there was an email that I used to do terrible things at TVZ. I used to wander around at night and just look at people's desks and folders and all sorts of shit like that, just when not supposed to. I found an email from MTV, and I look back on those now, and I don't look, I'm quite big now, but I wasn't big then. But they sort of say, that show's looking pretty good. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe the presenter could lose a bit of weight. And I faxed them back and told them to fuck off, like in New York or something like, I'm never going there. You can go fuck yourselves or something like that. And just thought, and then I look back at it now. What was I thinking doing that? But nothing ever came of it. But the whole, there's that whole way you're supposed to look as a youth presenter that was when youth presenters were really youth presenters, and the only other thing to compare it to was I don't know what the timeline was, but maybe Ice TV or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those guys are cool, but also the fact that it was 2 guys presenting it, okay, and there was no one brown or no girl or no one gay, meant we couldn't get New Zealand on air funding, which is why Export sponsored it.
Shout out Export.
But when you think about it, I think like one thing I'm really proud of is that especially the TV shows that it was all about showcasing who we were in this country and what we think and how we. The different types of people are here that they don't normally get talked about. All the people who were all the people that were sitting there in their flats going, "Oh, that's like us."
And that's what it was.
Yeah,
that was my recollection of it. Is like this is so relatable, even though I was like younger.
And the stupidest, most trivial crap. Like
Kumface.
Kumface.
Tell us the Kumface story.
Tell us the Kumface story.
Well, firstly, so Kumface. Okay, in a nutshell, excuse the pun. So Kumface, for people who don't know, was okay. It starts off with me coming into the office and going, "What do you think I'm going to say next, Dave?"
No, I'm thinking about the promo clip of anyway. Sorry.
There's some shitty video there. That's like the cheapest, nastiest little thing. Faces of Delight. Yeah. Which is so the whole concept came about before we got to Faces of Delight. So it came about with me coming into the office and going, "I watched that Pamela Lee and Tommy porno." Which I watched, so I thought I was saying, I should watch that,
Again, relatable.
Yeah,
everybody did.
And it was like to someone, I was like, it's rubbish, actually, to be honest.
Fact.
And he's got a big dick and it's funny when he comes and his sunglasses fall on his head and he goes, "Oh, dude," and just drop on his head like that. That's the funniest bit. And then we're like, ha ha. And I sort of went, it'd be funny if you could put people's cum faces on TV, we could do it. So and that's right. And then you just have to spell it. What if you did it with that with a over the top, like Kumface, and then called it Faces of Delight. You're in the islands, they call it Kumface. The moment with the soul really, for a second, the mask drops away and you see some fucking rubbish like that. And then the first one we got was Peter Andre. The first one we did was Peter Andre. Peter Andre, what were you interviewing Peter Andre for? Because he was there. And said to him, okay, so what I want you to do is just imagine we want to get your face just. What's the food you hate the most? And he goes, "Oh, pickled onion." I said, "I've just pushed a pickled onion in your mouth." He goes, "Oh," but then you slow that down to. Boom, there's your first Kumface. Ridiculous. How the hell are we getting away with that? But we did, and then it became like a nightly thing, man. It was just like full on.
What was the reaction the first time that screened?
I can't remember. The reaction was enough that without a word of a lie, this is how ridiculous things got. Even they got ridiculous on so many different tangents and levels. But here's one particular thing about Kumface, Faces of Light. Is the guy from, should I say the company? Maybe not. A guy from a major soft drink company in this Frucor. I had 2 meetings with him about making a energy drink called Kumface.
Wow.
And they were into it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Just sit on that for a second.
Yeah.
Just really? It's like it has to be a bit milky. It has to be a bit tropical. We seriously had a serious proper meeting about doing it, and it kind of got pretty close to almost happening.
Wow.
Like
that was that like the peak of?
I don't know.
I won't say the height of your popularity, but
okay. So one thing I do remember about Kumface, I remember in 1999. I remember thinking, this is like a word. This is like a word. This country. It's sort of. I guess it's hard to sort of relate for people now who don't know it, but at the time, every fucker knew what Kumface meant.
Yeah.
Well,
everybody, like everybody of a certain level. If you're between like say 12 and bloody 50 or something like that, then you all knew what Kumface was, and they go, Kumface, joke about it. It was just in the vernacular. It became a word. It became a thing. A word that we made up after Tommy Lee's thing. Yeah. Became a thing. And that was,
23 years later, I'm still referencing it.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me though. That's just like, or the gammy leg.
Yeah,
It's another
the
one.
gam. Yeah.
The gam, like the gam. You use the casual way of saying it, the gam. Just, hey.
Well, Gore's still not recovered from.
I want to talk about Gore, but I think it's important because this is pre-internet, so now there's so much stuff everywhere. This was just channel. Everyone was watching the show of a certain age because it was the only thing on.
We were never on before 9:30.
Yeah.
Never. We never did a TV show on TVZ that was on before 9:30.
You had licensed to be fast and loose,
but
you captured everyone's attention, and you did this crazy shit. So like the Gore thing blew up. Like it's still talked about today. Like it still goes and goes and goes.
I know, man.
But like I watched that clip again this morning. And it seemed to just evolve out of just nonsense discussion, right?
It was evolved. I told the story recently on the Matt and Jeremy podcast. Actually, we went over this, but we'd been in Dunedin the night before at the Miss New Zealand contest.
The Lanarkshire Royal Inquiry.
Ding.
We
can link to that.
We can link to that actually in the show notes. We will do.
Yeah, and okay.
Clear an hour.
Hooray! And Jerry showed me a text that Kieran Reid sent about that podcast.
Yeah, fan of the show.
So we just done that. It was the only time in that whole tour that we got hammered. It was at the Miss New Zealand contest, and we were just hungover and broken men. Excuse me. I was asleep in the van driving through there, and got woken up and told, "Come on, bring Gore. We got to do something." I was like, "No, can we just go to the next thing?" Because we weren't. It's not where we were going. We were going obviously somewhere else. And he's like, "Just come out. We just have to film something. We have to film something. Let's just film something." Okay. Yeah. There. Sit up on that under that trout and just do that. Never thought it was going to be on the show. Never for a second thought it would be on the show. Because we were saying that it was the boom sounds capital of New Zealand. Oh, it's the gay capital of New Zealand. Yeah. That's where men come to meet men. Hey, man. Hey.
Gore, the G's for gay.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Boom. That was a beauty. And it just happened and put it on, and shit, lose your minds about it. Yeah, and then it became fascinating. That whole thing was just like, really, like you're really upset. You're not just upset. You're like having a tanty, like a national tanty upset. Goodness me. I mean, there's a word for that, and that's homophobic. Yeah, it's like fucking hell. Yeah, but yeah. So,
is it accurate that an All Black who came from that region tried to fight you in a bar? Or
came pretty close to it, yeah.
Accosted
Can
you?
we tell the story? I've never told the story on
yeah, let's go.
I just remember the guy's name is, do you know the name?
I know the name. It's in my notes.
Right, okay, good. Okay, so how do you know the name?
I've seen it in print somewhere.
Really? Okay, so here's the way that worked. I was DJing down in Christchurch at a place called Bass Bar, great bar. Had a great night DJing. Sometimes they have great nights. Sometimes, but that time had a great night. Really had a booming set, as they say. And was there with two really great friends of mine from Auckland. One was down there doing a air steward's course, and one was just down there because he's got family down there. And they're both they're both big boys. You know, they certainly good backup men if you had sort of
handle themselves
if you had like an incoming attack. And so we're just having we're having the best night ever. You know, and there was. Teasing people left, right, and centre. The Highlanders and the Crusaders just played that night, and somehow we're in the VIP room backstage, whatever the back bar, and for some reason both those teams arrive at once after the game to party up in Christchurch, you know, and it was cool. You know, and at the same time I was talking to a girl, just lovely lady. I thought to myself, I'll talk to her, you know, and then thought to myself, look how much you're sweating. I talked to her, and they thought, we'll just may as well anyway. He had a good set, sort of thing. And then, so talking to her for a little bit, then I'm talking to some dudes who one of them turns out to be one of the Whitelock brothers. I think, who's the ones in the All Blacks? Was it Aaron,
all of them.
All of them, yeah.
George,
Sam. Yeah, I think it was Sam. But I was talking to one of them anyway, and he was. I remember the conversation because it was fascinating because he was asking me all the things about being a thespian, that sort of thing. And what's it like to, it must be terrifying to walk on stage and all this really, like he was, and then someone said, walked past one of the other team members, walked past, and I don't know why I remember this so much, but he walked past and said, "Oh, ask him his nickname. Nickname's Undies, mate." Just like talking about the Whitelock brother, you know, and then he was terribly embarrassed by that. He's like, "Oh, don't listen. Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry about that, mate." Anyway, so he really wants to know, what's it like to get like applause at the end of doing something, like things like that. Really. Yeah, it was beautiful, actually. And because I couldn't give two shits about rugby at all. And so I didn't know who all these dudes were or anything like that, but it's all getting pretty exciting. So I'm sitting in the corner talking to this girl, my friends just suddenly have disappeared. And look, and she goes to me, hey, at the bar there, sitting up the bar, there's sort of like I look over and he's just sneering and muttering at you. Fucking just muttering and looking at me like he's got like a stitch on his face, stitched up there, and he's just fuming and just like, and I'm like, okay, sort of, I go around, yeah, right, mate, yeah. I do a bit of old charming old wacky old TV,
The old Havo.
The old Havo. Normally sprinkle a bit of that on there or calm it down, and start talking to her again. She goes, that didn't work, and I'm like, oh shit. Around and go, oh, yeah. So then I thought it was a good idea to give him shit about his t-shirts. Oh, yeah, they're from a Twilight movie giveaway, did you, mate? Oh, yeah, we got that, something like that. Yeah, just try to sort of be smart back, and you think, he's not good. Look back, she says, no, that's not good. And I'll just ignore him. She goes, no, you can't do that because he's walking over here right now. He's walking over here right now. He's walking over here, and he's still waking here. He walks over, and I turn around and go, shit. Around and look at him, he just goes, why would you say that, mate? What? He goes, why would you say that, mate? And I was going, what do you mean? He goes, why would you say that about Gore? I'm like, hang on, what? Are you serious? This is like, if I'm 13 years afterwards.
Wow. Really?
It's my hometown, mate. That's where I grew up. It made me the man I am, mate. It's my clubbers and I fucking Gore, mate. You say that about my town, mate? I was like, like, you're serious? He's like, yeah, I'm fucking serious, man. And I'm looking at him going, hey, I feel this thing getting the tension and the everything. I'm just feeling it. It's like, God, this is not getting good. And to the point where I'm going to punch him in the stitch, the throat.
Hoping it'll bust open.
Maybe, I don't know. This one's just like he's a rugged looking cat, you know. So like, and I'm handy, but I'm not handy. And I was going to punch him in the stitch in the throat. And then that's about as far as I can see where my prediction ends there. Then it's all up to fate and holy. And she's just like, she's wide eyed going, oh, and he's just, and I'm just like, oh mate, it's just joking. He goes, oh, it's not a very funny joke, mate. Fucking blah blah blah. It's just he's just coming at me like this, and I'm just like, and right when I thought it was gonna just get, he was about to blow up at me, I just go, oh well, how many times have you given Auckland shit, man? And for some reason that worked. And he goes, and he just sort of goes, the kettle just stops boiling. He goes, yeah, I suppose.
I've said Jeff a few times.
Yeah, you did like that, no, she's fair cool actually, mate. And just right at that second, the Whitelock brother just comes in the side, much bigger man, a very tall man. I remember that. He goes, what's going on here? Now remember, the Crusaders have just beat the Highlanders, which is this gentleman that you're referring to, just beaten them that night. You know, so they're high on the hog, happy as can be. He's bitter and twisted and angry at me. And then, but he's calmed down. And so what's going on here? He says, oh, nothing, mate. We're just talking about Gore. I look up the way. Look up one guy goes, really? There's only one thing I know about Gore, mate. Pause. It's the gay capital of New Zealand. Bang! And it's off. And suddenly you've got both teams fighting each other. And I'm going, looking with my friends, what's going on? What's going on here? There's a brawl going on in the back bar because of this thing that happened that we just, that's mental. And then you get the story, the Jeremy story a couple of years later when he basically just got followed back to the gas station by a bunch of skinheads who wanted to beat the shit out of him. Wow. And like to the point where someone's mum, they tried to call the cops, and someone's mum came in, if I got the story right, basically came in and drove a car through the group of skinheads and said, get on, quick! And back to the hotel, and the skinheads came following back to home and stood under like a bunch of zombies under the windows for a couple of hours.
Wow.
Because they're still dark about it.
Yeah.
Because God forbid you get called the gay capital of New Zealand.
These stories are years removed, but at the time, did you realise how powerful what you had was with the reactions of anything you were saying? We'd be like Queenstown or something like that down there for the winter festival to do something down there, and so they'd say, "Oh, can you guys be in the parade or whatever?" So be in the parade, throwing out lollies to kids, and somebody just hear in the dark, "Don't come back to Gore." And then, of course, I just yell. I said, "Oh my God, it's gorgeous!" Or something. Yeah, just you could just feel it. Yeah. You know, people go, "Hey, mate, talking to a friend of mine from Gore. That's why we down there, mate." Which is why we did what we did with the TV show. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember how it all played out in the end?
So the
you
first
went
time,
back,
first time we went there, we did that. Second time we went back and sort of made it visible that we'd gone back,
Yeah.
and then we just took off because we didn't. And then the third time that we said we would do a free fireworks display there.
Yes.
And as long as when we got to town, nobody gave us any shit. But then someone did. So
See you guys.
I mean, did it in Cleveland.
Is it the opposite with bulls? Do you get a lot of praise from bulls? Because
Yeah,
that
well, I
is
mean,
a great
I tell you, the Gore thing's funny because there's still people who were there go, man, I lived there and that was hilarious when you guys did that. That was because it's and by the way, don't be homophobic for a start. Just get that, rinse that out of your system for a second, man. Just okay, it's okay. It's like if you're not the gay couple, who is then? Okay, well, it doesn't matter then, does it? So just, anyway, but yeah, so the bulls thing, there's a perfect example of creative license. Just to go, what could you hear that? Hey, let's do this. And this is what I love doing about that show, man. We just got to think stuff up, or go. I watched one the other day. I've been finding copies and trying to put them, digitize them all. Like we're interviewing Georgina Bayer, who was the transsexual mayor of Carterton, and just I remember when we're driving in there, and and it's on tape. When I just came up with the whole idea of singing the C-A-R-T-E-O-T-O-N. Oh, C-A-R-T-E-R-T-O-N. Oh, C-A-R-T-E-R-T-O-N. Just spelling out Carterton to that tune. And it's just awesome. It's just awesome. It's just like, it's funny as all hell, and it sort of works, and it's New Zealand, and it's sort of, and she was into it, and she got it, and so we got it. And so, anyone who didn't get it, that's like...
Yeah.
That's awesome.
As long as it's funny. Because I think I've read you say that you were just making TV or trying to make 10 of your mates laugh.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's all you got to do. Just try to make people that you appreciate, their respect, laugh. And then, the rest follows.
And at the end of the show, it's like, what did Mum think? What did my mate Chris, who's like older than me, think? What did my brother think? What did my best friend think? Oh, here's 3 other people whose opinion they just wouldn't normally ring, but they've rung in. So that's interesting. And from that, pretty much... And then literally walking to the radio show in the morning, even that early in the morning, and you could just feel. I know that sounds really weird, but you could just feel. I could definitely feel if it had been a big show the night before. Just because 1 or 2 more people than usual go, oh, there's a guy there. I mean, it's in a very nuanced way, but it definitely was. And me asking before about how did we realise how much sway it got to a stage where it was huge, man. And I don't say that arrogantly.
It was.
It was fascinating.
On TV,
It was and that was like our show. We made it for the first couple of years. I sort of alluded to this earlier on, but I still, even right to the very end, I still kind of spent 60% of my energy on it, protecting it from people fucking with it. Which is I'm kind of annoyed that we had to do that, because I'm glad we did, because it meant that there's barely an episode where I think, and same with the radio show actually, but there's, I can name a handful of times where I've gone home thinking, oh man, I wish that radio show had never happened, or that TV show had never happened. Probably literally 10 occasions. Other than that, I'm happy with what's gone.
And you made like 300 TV shows, I think I read.
Yeah.
But year after year, as the juggernaut starts building, Havoc and Newsboy and the Sellout Tour, is it more and you've been delivering and everyone's expecting such high quality. Is there pressure building as well? Are people trying to get involved? Like you're saying, you're protecting the show. Are they trying to influence what you do next? And did you feel pressure to deliver?
I guess, yeah, a little bit. But at the same time, we were always just sure we were going to get, for so many years. So for the first half of that, we were just sure we were just going to get cancelled next night. Like it was like, what can we, why bother worrying about this when we're not going to, surely we're not going to get another series. Surely they're going to be over it by now, or they're going to be sick of our troublesome, they haven't done a star card for us down on the foyer yet, at TVNZ, or they haven't, they never once advertised our show outside of on air. They never a bus or a billboard.
Oh, really?
No, never. Just never barely got, I think maybe 2 emails in 7 years of great show last night, from the big knobs, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's pretty weird, eh?
Because
yeah, but then we did get the CEO. It's a place where munters can see munters.
But did it rate really well? Like my recollection is it's super fun.
It rated really, really well. Especially the first sellout tour we did. This is when I was browsing around the floors I wasn't supposed to be on folders when people had all gone home from work. I came across something that basically said highlights and lowlights of the coming up for the season sort of thing. Lowlights, Havoc sellout tour, which for Extras for Experts, which started out as being a show called Rust in My Cage, which they did the pilot for, and it was so fucking boring. Neil Roberts said to me, "Look, we've got the money for this show. Can you do it? Can you make anything out of it?" And I was like, "If you let us do it the way we want to, yep." And we did it, and halfway through I ended up ripping up the whole schedule and basically reconcepted the whole thing and said, "This is what we're going to do." Okay, and then we did it, and everyone was like, "Oh, freeform, and what are these free-thinking idiots doing," sort of thing, and he thinks he's a dolphin whisperer. What's going on here? And all this, whatever it was all about. And so lowlights, like it was under lowlights, hasn't performed as well as we thought. Came on. And just you watch every show, the ratings go do 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 do.
Yeah, that's.
We came in to do the second one. We sold, I think, how many episodes there? I can't remember how many episodes there were, but was that one of the luxury suites? By the way, and also, hurry up, you guys! We need a name for the new series.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. Amazing names.
Best name ever for a TV show ever.
Yeah.
Havoc Luxury Suites and Conference Facility.
Amazing.
Came about because they were going, well, you've got 10 minutes. It's like, oh really? Okay, well here it is. Here, boom. There you go. Is that what you want to go with? Yes, it is. That's what we would like to go with, please. Havoc Luxury Suites and Conference Facility.
It's amazing. It's actually
the best
amazing.
fucking name ever, man. I love it. It's my favorite one.
2000 Deluxe is good, but yeah.
2000 Deluxe is good because it was in 1999. That's
yes.
the thing.
Yeah, caught me out.
And then there's Havoc Newsboy Sellout Tour. Havoc Newsboy Sellout Tour. The Ratings Drive. Havoc Newsboy Sellout Tour. The Victory Lap. I thought pretty cool as well. So that's sort of how do I get there?
As you're doing this, are you doing the radio at the same time? You doing like radio in the morning and TV in the evening?
I remember I've been doing radio in the morning and running a bar at night as well. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Full noise,
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about Squid Bay.
That was full on, man. It was like I've never thought I was going to die as many times as I did then. But yeah, no. By that stage, I was definitely doing the radio the whole way through. And it was the radio was half the reason it was. Like I say, I never got paid very much to work there, but it was it was the confidence that was working well, and then this will work well, and then we knew that and the cool thing is like wearing a BFM, Jeremy wear a BFM hat on the show one week like that, and just boom, the sales are going to go BFM. Suddenly we sold us a BFM hats. It's like just but that all came about also because of and a lot of I believe a lot of the success of the things that I've been involved in at when you say the TV and the radio show, that sort of stuff, is because the culture behind where we were all at that age, if that makes sense, was really blossoming into something quite special here too. This is when, when we first started doing it, there wasn't such a thing as a big day out. Or maybe it was just when it first started, there was big day outs. And now big day out is like a thing that we can't imagine what life would have been without it. It's you wanted to get the new Soundgarden album, say this band from Soundgarden or this band called Nirvana from Seattle or something, if you want to get their album Bleach, you maybe have to order it at the record shop and then just wait till the orders come in, whatever that ever meant, and then maybe that would turn up, or you go to the alternative section of your record shop and wait till they had another copy come in from their overseas, this thing. And then suddenly, but now we get into a stage where suddenly, okay, the album's out around the world, we've got it the same week, we've got, and all the stuff's coming out, and all the magazines coming out, now all the TV shows coming out, now suddenly, snowboarding and energy drinks and mineral water, and just the whole culture really ballooned into a place, and we were just in a position where we could, and I was in a position where I could just, it was what I was into, and I had no problem talking about all that stuff, and didn't want to be the cliche of it, like I remember DJing some snowboarding thing down in Wanaka once, and this American guy who was commentating just couldn't believe that I was playing Underworld. He just thought it was a complete, you're supposed to play like punky bands. It's like, no, just shut up. It was awesome. It was awesome, man. It was like the whole crowd went mental. But that sort of thing. Being in a position where I was able to, which I do not. It's not lost to me how lucky and fortunate I was, and to have been allowed to be in that position,
But that's the genius part, though, right? You're juggling these two huge jobs, and you're nailing both of them because of the fact that it's unscripted, basically. Because you can just turn up at this job and just deliver gold. With Jeremy, the connection there in the evenings or whenever you filmed, and in the morning on the breakfast, that's talent. That's people don't have that. Otherwise, there would be a whole world of Mikey Havocs.
Well, and I don't, like I say, I don't want to. I look back at it and just go, cool. You know, like it, and it was, but, and it says a lot about, you know, just, if someone's got an idea, just let them have their idea. See what, you know, what's the worst that could happen? What's literally the worst that could happen, you know? And you look at some of the stuff that we did, and we pushed the one thing I kind of, I guess I can say this now because I don't sound like I'm too bitter and twisted, but I really kind of don't think we get enough credit, sort of historically, for just how far we did push things in media in New Zealand. You know, like
agree,
I think there's a lot of people get talked about a lot of shit in this country, and rightfully so. But I think that was one thing we did is we, you know, like we did some amazing humor. I've never thought, but one thing we never did was ever call ourselves comedy. Never said we're doing skits. That's one thing. And we never dressed up. Oh, did we dress up as women? We never did fart and shit jokes. Because Jeremy was one or two. I don't know. But you know, there's just certain things and certain ways that we didn't treat women like they're all, you know, barmaids and whores and you know, like that sort of thing. It's like we talked up gays. We talked up, you know, sort of free thinking minority people. I don't know, just everyone was cool. And we used to go to these TVNZ sales meetings, and they'd say, "You come into Wellington to meet all the salespeople." And then we go, "Oh, really?" They go, "Please, you know, we go, can we take so you can go down? Well, anyone from the show that wants to go down." And so, like maybe me and Jeremy, and we'd take this drag performer, Deezer Star, is a friend of mine, who'd just be dressed head to toe like in a big mandarin-coloured cowboy alien costume with flashing lights on her boobs there, and she'd just come with us. just go to the sales meeting with these, and we'd just talk. It was just fine. It turns out the night would go really well, and she'd talk to loads of people, we'd talk to loads of people, and it'd be great. It's just fine. Everything's fine. It's not going to go tits up, and no one's going to think you're a weirdo. You know, it's like, it's just like, I think it was actually thinking about that time was quite being a weirdo was quite sort of, it's a good thing to be. You know, you're allowed to be a weirdo. It's all a bit sort of, hey, let's do burlesque, or let's hang ourselves by hooks. Let's learn to breathe fire. Let's, you know, like there's a whole that sort of weird circusy vibe going on too. I don't know why that popped on my head then.
Just before you and Jeremy depart, did you know, as you were working with him year after year, the talent he possessed? Did you expect him to go on to have the career that he has had?
I mean, I wouldn't have asked him to work with me initially if I didn't think there was something there, you know. But the fact. What I wouldn't have expected is that I watch back some of the TV stuff we do now, and the way it just goes like that. It's like we're so in sync with each other of what. No, neither of us know at all what we're about to say. You know, one bit we're working through Parliament, the Beehive, and Parliament, down the halls of Parliament. We're talking about these blah blah blah, these respected people. And Jeremy goes, "Amazing to think that all these men have had many erections." And I was just like, you can just see me just look at him and go, "Oh, thanks, man. What am I supposed to say after that?" And I just come in and just crack into the next thing. You know, it's just like you know, it was almost we'd try and outdo each other with sort of, you know, what do you expect? What are you going to say? Oh, you're going to say that? Okay, well, what about I say this? Boom. Now what are you going to do? You know, it's like, and that was cool, man. It's like his part of it. I wouldn't, you know, I'd say, I don't want to say who did. You know, like I definitely, I guess. I definitely was at the forefront of taking any shit for the show, and I'd be here so I can try and keep him at arm's length, because I always figured it was. I never ever said it was my show, but it was sort of my show.
Did you get a lot of shit from people? I don't remember any massive scandals from anything that you did other than the Gore stuff.
Oh no, you mean just from
like BSA or any of that sort of?
BSA. We got Graham Capel tried to get us shut down a couple of times. That's the same Reverend Graham Capel from the Christian Heritage Party who got arrested for kitty fiddling. That's the one. And he tried to shut us down a couple of times. Even when we had the guy staple gun his scrotum and penis to the crucifix and set it on fire.
That's right.
We told everyone not to watch that. That's back in the day when that guy sent that in. They sent that in. Hey, you should see this video of a mate of mine sending staple gunning his cock to a crucifix and putting a lot of light fluid on it and setting it on fire. Okay, send it in. Oh, look, he does. And it's just like this whole, where we sort of mock it, but at the same time, and the whole show, for people who haven't seen it, it's basically us going, there's a bit at the end of the show, don't watch it. Don't. Don't. Just turn off. Honestly, best thing to do, just turn off. Don't come back after the ads. Don't. And then it does it and we go, see? But of course, everyone's going to come back and watch it. Yeah, that's the beauty of that. So what was it?
With Jeremy, we were talking about.
Yeah, just so it just was it was amazing. Yeah, like it was just and right up to I guess when we sort of split sort of thing. We're best mates. That was a real genuine. Everything you saw, every single cuddle or bloody or acknowledgement to each other, it was all genuine.
But again, that's why it worked. People can see that.
Yeah.
People know it's genuine. People can see the mateship.
And also, you fellas go, yeah. There's that one, man, everywhere, especially outside of Auckland. Yeah. Hey, you guys are gay, though, aren't you? Your 3/4 pants and you're hugging and that, like that thing was. I loved it. I love people now will come up and say, like 25 years after the fact, will come out and say, I love it. You guys just do a little dance. Just take time out to have a dance, or you just, or the way you guys told each other you loved each other, because back then, people didn't do that, man. People didn't big up the North Shore. People didn't, you ever said to one of your mates, hey man, I love you. Really,
it's really you're true.
And I'm really, really, when you asked me before about like sort of things that I've done, that side of it is something I'm really proud of, man. Is that I hope that we did a thing where I got Jeremy bought me a curry tree for my birthday. We went and planted it, and this in the One Tree Hill. Oddly enough, someone stole it the next night. Isn't that fucked? But anyway, so as we planted it, we just had the moment to talk about youth suicide. The youth suicide figures that come in and how important it was to not, please don't do that and sort of thing. Or like you're going to mention Darcy.
I am going to mention Darcy.
So, when we did, we got nominated for a Qantas Media Award. It was when we did a show. Started out on the radio, me sort of supporting this suicide awareness show up here in Auckland, and then that went so well that a girl tried to do the same thing down in Wellington, but it got quite massive, and then I was on TV on the home show debating the Ministry of Youth Affairs about why they shouldn't, what they should do about youth suicide, and he going, we put pamphlets out and all sorts of stuff. What would you do? It's like, it's not up to me, I'm a DJ. You're the Ministry of Youth Affairs, and that's just the thing. And then they were going to try and shut the show down because they thought it was so many, there's so many the people who do copycat suicides and all sort of thing, and maybe it sounds weird because I don't know, maybe we can still talk about it more now, but it's so all over the media now, that sort of thing, and it's discussed. You couldn't mention the word in the media, on the radio or TV in New Zealand at all, and and Darcy was a friend of ours. He's a good friend of mine for many years before he was Darcy Clay, and to come on TV to be able to do that show and for it to happen, even though the government tried to shut it, national government tried to shut it down at the time. You fuckers, pathetic. To be able to go to do the show when he died and be able to just say right down the camera, hey man, and just before we go, a friend of ours died. He killed himself, and it's just really sad. And just please don't do that, guys. And you can see my face go.
Yeah, I wanted to commend you for that.
Yeah,
because for me, growing up as someone young, like you said, that subject was taboo.
Yeah,
the word, you never heard it, and that was the first time I think I had heard someone speak about it.
That makes me feel really, really. Oh, I'm getting all tingly. That makes me feel so good inside that.
But and I do, and we had Jono and Ben in here on another episode previously, and Jono did the same thing, use that platform to speak to these things. And I remember I lauded him then, and then it was only researching this, I remember, actually, the first time I ever saw it was Mikey talking about Darcy Clay, and I fucking loved that song, and I didn't get it. Yeah. Like, teenage me didn't get it and couldn't understand why someone would want to do that and how much.
I didn't get it.
But that conversation, those topics, those sorts of things, mixed in with all the wacky and weirdness, it was like, okay, these guys are just normal people, and they.
I had a guy. I remember being in Christchurch once, and just some person came up and said, Havoc, I come out. Yeah. So, just come out, and this guy said, saw that thing you did on the Yellow Ribbon thing, man, it was awesome. I was like, shit, wow, thanks, sort of thing, and it was like there's. Sort of Yellow Ribbon was a suicide awareness thing at the time, and I remember thinking, of all the things, of all the years and years and years of stuff that I've done, and all the ridiculous things that guy could have come up, and this always blows me away actually, that person could have come up to mention. That's the thing that they mention, and it's like, wow, that's fucking deep. That's really special, and the fact that you can reference it now, and it makes a difference. There's there's another story. Should I tell you another story? And similar sort of vein. It's not about suicide, but it's about Should I tell you the story?
Yeah, tell us the story.
So this is something I'm super proud of, and when we're doing the TV show, so we'll go back to my producer Jose at the time on the radio show. Sort of says to me, "Hey, have you read old mate's bloody blog?" And the old mate he's talking about, like, I was dark on this guy. He'd written something really savage about me, and I just wasn't into it at all. I was hating on him. So no, I hadn't read his blog, and I hadn't read the comments on his blog that he was talking about. So he had found, reading the comments on this dude's blog, when they're talking about journalistic, righteous journalism, proper good righteous journalists, about a guy had said, I think John Campbell and Mikey Havoc, John Campbell because of this and Mikey Havoc because of this, and this guy wrote this piece. And he talks about how he had been listening to BFM in the morning. And so this is, when Jose's told me this, it's got to be maybe a year or two after this has happened. Maybe longer, maybe quite a bit, maybe 4 or 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe even afterwards. That when this guy's written this comment, okay, that Jose's seen it and told me about it. Said, hey, you should have a look at this. So the guy had said that he'd been listening to BFM in the morning, and someone had rung me up and said, I thought you guys were doing a show on sharks and all that last night. I thought you're supposed to be going back to Gisborne or something, using some Gisborne, and going to some sharks and then go back to Gore or something. Like, yeah. And so, well, why didn't you do that? It's just like someone calling me just live on air on the radio, and I explained why. And the reason why, and at the time, was there's been an Auckland girl who had been, her and her husband had been, well, they just got married, gone over to Australia, and if you know the story, remember the story, and basically he had been attacked and eaten by a tiger shark in front of her while they were on holiday, like on their honeymoon, basically, And I'd read that she was arriving back in New Zealand the next night, and so like with 24, maybe 48 hours beforehand, I said we can't put that shark show on TV, the one that we had in the can, all edited up, ready to roll, sort of thing. And people, the production people, sort of like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, no, we can't, because my thinking was that, imagine coming home to your country where you're from, after that terrible shit happening to you, and there being those two dicks from the TV doing a show on sharks, and maybe I was a bit, maybe I was flexing my muscle a wee bit, I guess, I guess the fact that I could do it, say that, but with quite a bit of, everyone begrudgingly, that means we're going to have to knock this together and put the show. And so that's what happened, is that show didn't go to air. And it went a couple of weeks later or whatever. And then, so the guy writes on the blog, is this making sense so far?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so, and the guy writes on the blog, and Mikey doesn't know this because I've never told him, but I actually was the one who picked that girl up from the airport that night. We went back to my house, sat down, had a meal, and we watched the TV, and we watched Havoc and Newsboy show. Wow. And it's the first time she laughed since he died, or something like that. And it was just like, man, to find that out 8 years after the fact, it was just like, like I'm so proud of that, like, and it's just meant the right, let's do the right thing. Yeah, just do the right thing. It might be a little bit harder every now and then, but it's a good thing to do, It's like, it's better than just sort of going, oh well, she's not going to be a fan anymore. It makes a difference. It made a difference, and it made a difference. Even if it's just one person for their life, for that one moment, just it's a thing, And it's funny, when you were mentioning before about how, that the Darcy thing, the talking about suicide was a big thing for you. It's just the tiniest little just little bits that, that we always thought would really stick out, that really mean a lot to us. And someone else go, the one thing I like is that, and it's like, what, you mean that one thing that was on for 40 seconds of the whole time we ever did anything, that we never got shown again, just that one bit. And they go, yeah, that was awesome. That changed my life when I was 18. And that stuff's, what an amazing, like how lucky I am to have been in a position to do that,
That story's really,
as opposed to presenting the dog show or something,
That story's really cool, but I think it also speaks to your success because of your kindness, and you've got the two levels. You've got the crazy, wild, outgoing humour, but you've also got
He's so irreverent.
but you've got that genuineness that comes through. And I want to sort of change tack a little bit and talk about your dad, if that's all right. And,
okay, yep, yeah. Okay.
Because he is an incredible man. He was a yachting world champion.
Yeah,
like that's
the first New Zealand.
I think he's the first New Zealand yachting world champion. Yeah,
like that's that's pretty incredible.
It's pretty, and for the sake of the listeners, he passed away. He was killed by a drunk driver when I was 5, and so that's a very, for anyone who's lost a parent or lost someone, that's a very weirdly, like, I don't remember his voice, but I remember how he smelt and felt and that sort of thing, and and growing up with, and especially with a dad who you can't ask him about it every day, but. He's the best in the world at it. That's like, my dad's the best in the world. And now, but as you get to this age, now I'm like in the whole fucking world, shit, and you really get that. So it's like the end of the book, Danny, the Champion of the World, that Roald Dahl book. I'm like, so, it's this whole thing. It's like, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, and then you get the whole thing too of, hey, Mike, do you sail? So. Like, I'm really, really bad at it. Like, I love it, but I'm terrible at it. Terrible. Yeah. So, but
that's a really, like, that just came up in the research, the world champion. But I just wonder, because you've got a young son of about the same age now, right? Is it 5, 6? 6-year-old. I'm not sure how I'm trying to tie these together. I just want to paint a picture of the father that you are now, and perhaps how you reflect on losing your dad at such a young age and being the best dad that you can now.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's all I've ever wanted to be as a dad, and like, so I thought I'd leave it till I was 46. I mean, like, seriously, with my son, I reckon his right at the point when I finally got to the point in my life where I realised that, hey, you know what, you might not have your own kids. Things haven't turned out relationship-wise or just timeline-wise or whatever. You might not have your own kids, but you've got amazing 2 nephews and a niece. My brother's kids are just phenomenal. And, you're really lucky to have them. And maybe maybe your thing is going to be just being there for other, you've done, and like we say here, this has got heavy, your son. Woo!
Can I ask you to keep going? Because I'm sitting right where you were. I'm 40.
Yeah.
Those thoughts that you're having, they're
intense.
They're in my head. So
non-stop, Like not non-stop, but just like they're big things, man. Because we grew up, like, all I ever wanted, man, was just to to be able to bring children up, with a mum and a dad, because. Like, as much as I'm not saying my life's harder than anyone else's, but it sucks not having a dad there, and I know how growing up without a father, even if it starts off by, what does your dad do? Oh, he doesn't. He's dead. That starts there, and then it gets where I never would ever anticipated that every day you get older, that it's way more intense for me today. When I think about myself in this position, I think of my mum, what she went through, and how it would have been for her, and that sort of thing. As I get older, that's every day that becomes more and more apparent to me, and it's so it basically was like right when I came to that conclusion, almost to the day, man. I can, like, when I suddenly went, you know what, just be grateful for. That's basically the day he was conceived. Almost, you can work it out. It's hard. And I was telling my mum about it. She said, "Yeah, I remember you telling me in the car about it." She said she was in the car and she had to turn away because she was crying. I said that. But so then, and so my son was born, and it's amazing. He's 6 years old, but he's non-verbal autistic as well, which is full on. And it's the odd thing about it is that. His mum and I aren't together anymore, which sucks, because I really think that's a really important thing. Everyone should try and keep that thing together, And if you're out there and you haven't tried, try and keep it together, man. If you can. And all the stuff that I was, like, I've been collecting toys all my life, just as a shallow example, I suppose. But I've been collecting great toys all my life, sort of thing. And I was like, well, I'm going to have a child. He's going to destroy all my toys. Okay, here we go. But my son, the autism thing and his vibe, like, he's the coolest, man. He's so, I've never loved anything more in my life than he, and he's so much fun and stuff. but he couldn't give two shits about my toys. He couldn't give any, you try and get him to watch you do something, and he's just like, and for somebody like me, I'm all about, like, yeah, but I can just go for the next 10 years. But he's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, and we went to the first sort of parenting autistic kids workshop, and they go, first thing I say is, okay, and his mum I met right just in that room just down here, actually. This is in this very radio business here. So we're both working on radio, and then first thing I said, right, so one thing is, just don't babble at your kids. That's the first thing. And I'm just like, that is fucked. That's my thing. That was my thing. This is my thing. I've been waiting 46 years to babble at my kid and go, look at me, I'm your dad. And then just, but it's just not what he's into at all. And I've got stuff I want to tell him. I've got so much stuff I want to tell him, but he doesn't understand. We understand each other. We have an amazing understanding of each other. And I know what he wants when he needs it when he wants it, but can't talk to him about stuff. And that was actually the hardest thing as a parent. I think he's had a pretty serious operation, a brain operation, when he was really young, and that was terrifying. He came through that like a champion. But the thing that upset me more was actually the concept that I might not be able to have a conversation with my son, which is a very selfish thing, but very. It was a big thing for me to get. It took me a long time to get through that. And so the father, I kind of think it's the universe just doing the. I'm kind of a believer in that too. The way you thought that there wasn't going to be such a thing as COVID, there was, sucked in. The universe does its thing, and it's whatever you predict, you stupid monkey. It's not going to be this. It's not going to be what you think at all. It's going to be way deeper and longer than you think. And so. Did I think that I was just going to have this crew? Hey, Dad, tell me about the planets, sort of thing. I'd be, oh, well, good you asked, actually, because I've got loads to talk to you about that. Let's go do something stupid, put on a mask. It's like, then it's not I don't get that at all. I've got a whole different thing I have to learn about and begin to understand and try and figure out the mystery of it all, and it's good for me. It's really, I look at it now and go, I don't know if I'd want it any other way. It's part of it's incredibly challenging, and it's super hard, and it's the uncertainty of it and the frustration of it's really, really difficult for me sometimes. But as a growth thing, and as the world teaching me lessons that maybe when I think sometimes I've been a bit cocky in my life, thinking I've got the world sort of spinning my fingers or something like that, maybe in my own head, then it's kind of good for me in a weird way. It's like I'm learning about humanity in a different, or just being a human being in a different way than I would have expected. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so as far as fathering him goes, there's all the stuff I've wanted to do. Look at just I don't even know. Have you got kids?
Yeah, I got 3.
Yeah, so it's not that easy.
No, it's not.
Sometimes with Anna's sort of.
I took 2 of them to the football yesterday. It was a hell of an ordeal.
And there's no brochure for it.
No.
There's no sort of thanks for purchasing a 4-year-old boy. There's like it's you. The one thing of having living it so long to have a kid, you people in your life going, you'd be a great father, Mike. Oh God, you'd be. It's like, thanks. Yes, I'm sure I would be. Should you have? It changes your life. It's like that thing. Oh my God, really? So building a human being and then bringing it up changes your life. Who would have thought? That stupid comment people make, but it does in a way that no one has ever even come close to beginning to come close to explaining to me. Getting close to how it changes your life. And I don't think I could explain it to anyone else. But it certainly does. And it does in a way that I wasn't prepared for, but I am prepared for, but I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Do you get what I mean? It's just like, it's so singular and unique to each individual, I think, and to how your own personality and brain deals with it, that I think it's just out of it.
Do you want to speak to that, Shane?
Yeah, and in a weird way.
Stretch a shame for that one.
In a weird way, like I read that Steve Bronius article in Metro.
They can get fucked.
Hear me out, though.
Yep.
Hear me out, though. Because there's so many elements of that are my story right now. Living at home with mum.
Nothing. You know what?
Which I love.
You know what? You've only got one mum.
That's
what someone said to me when I was having I was really down about that, and it's just and so it made a big difference.
And I'm all in on that. But it's the thoughts about shit. Maybe it's not my destiny to have a kid and to bring up a kid, and maybe I've put barriers in my own way to stop me from having that. But then reading the tea leaves and seeing how it's turned out for you specifically, it's incredibly encouraging to know that fucking maybe things will work out in a different way.
Yeah.
And that they're...
Well, they will. They're not going to work out the way you think they're going to.
Totally.
They're not going to. That happens to... Who does that even happen to?
Yeah.
Didn't happen to Tom Cruise. Did it?
No.
Yeah, he was jumping on the couch that time.
Yeah.
Didn't happen to him that way, did it?
I love this woman more than itself.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
Like, who do you know that everything's happened the way they thought it would?
But I guess my thing is like for all the negativity I know you felt towards that story, me reading that was like, fuck, okay, actually, things probably going to be okay, because I can look at where you are now and go, my perception is this dude's life's changed, and it's changed in a great way as well.
Yeah. Like I mean, it's not all a bucket of balls though, mate. But yeah, it's and it's been hard, and the bits that have been hard, and the bits have been, there's the shining light that comes up when you go. This is why I'm a big fan of. I guess when talking about the whole suicide thing before, it's like, man, it's just tomorrow's worth sticking around for. Tomorrow's different, and tomorrow's tomorrow, and just sometimes I don't go to sleep because I go, I just want to see what's going to happen. You go to sleep and you, but I missed that. But like I'm seriously, I'm not just joking when I say that. Do I have that weird thought in my head sometimes? And it's like the reason I hate that article is because he set me up on that big time.
Yeah.
And that really and I actually adored his writing, and I was a massive fan of his writing, and then he just did that just so they could just do it, and it's just like, man, it's not making sense. People haven't read it, I suppose, but just between you and I, just quietly, this is the first time you've ever really written something proper about me, and that's what you want to write. After all the shit that I've done to make this a better place, and to I've tried to do. I don't really succeeded, but all the stuff that I've put, all the effort I've put into doing things like everything we've been talking about, things like one thing I want to mention before I didn't get to is Jeremy. There's a listener cover with Jeremy and I hugging each other on the cover, and it's the first time in 30 years in the listener there were two guys hugging each other on the cover.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I'm glad that you spoke to that earlier, because I think it did encourage men of a certain age to not be afraid to show affection to one another. Openly. In a friendly way. What
do you guys go? It's like, oh no, just calm down, mate. Just say no. Or if you are, say yes. Just be cool. We're all. One thing I hate the most in the world is people who look at other people as less than them. I just think, how fucking dare you,
Mikey, you've led such an exceptional life. Like, we've covered rock star, radio star, TV star.
Haven't even talked about the Waddies ads, but
we like I say, we've barely scratched the surface. There's so much there. Like,
part two.
there's so much you've done.
Part two. You have to do part two.
But part two. But you've still got a lot of living to go. Where are you now? What's the next 10 years?
So I mean, I don't. After I've just been preaching the fact that I don't know what's going to happen next. I've been literally jobless for the last 2 years, basically, which just sucked, because having a job sucks, man. It's like having no money sucks. It really sucks. But I guess we had the COVID machine did its thing, and it's. When that kicked off, I was really having some difficulties with the whole sort of, man, I'm struggling here. This sucks. It's like, because all sort of various different reasons. But then suddenly when that happened, I was like, hey, guess what? Everybody's got job uncertainty, and no one's got any money, and now no one knows what's going to happen. And actually, it was a huge weight off my shoulders. Yeah, really. And I actually really enjoyed that first lockdown. I was like, hey, hard, difficult, Yeah, I know. You guys all right? Got a teddy bear up on the wall? Sweet as. That sort of thing. It's just, that whole thing. And now I'm, but what a time to not be on the radio, man. Like that, and Trump, and just, the last end of that last national government. And so, oh my god. Yeah, but but yeah, and I guess I know I love doing radio so much for that. The thing about radio that is the best thing is about it, you can have 10,000 people listening to you. Which, firstly, if you're doing, especially with the breakfast show, I've said this before, but I think it's something that I think it's pretty much, I'm the only one that said it. It's like if you're doing a radio show and you're doing something like breakfast, you need to be incredibly grateful to those people that are listening for letting you into their morning. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they're doing. They're letting you be part of their routine in the morning, be it getting breakfast ready, be it lying in bed, be it sitting on the toilet, be it getting ready. Some people don't even share that bit of their day with their partners or the kids. You know what I mean? That's their time. It's a very intimate time of the day to be a part of and to be let in and being part of the mood creation at that time of the morning for someone is, I think it's incredible. It's something you should be truly grateful for, you know. And so when you're doing radio, you've got thousands of people listening, and there's no other media that even comes close to this. Like even in this modern time, in the future, the beyond 2,000 years that we live in, there's nothing that even comes close to being able to have 10,000 people, say, just for argument's sake, all going about their day doing completely different things for completely different reasons, yet all just bubbling away. But you've got them all on the same sort of thread. You know, like you've got them all thinking the same sort of thing. The ideas in their head, they're painting the picture in their head of what you're seeding. Do you know what I mean?
But you're talking about our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about our podcast too when you're saying that.
Yeah.
I know it's different to breakfast
Yeah.
radio, but
Well,
we feel the same way.
I guess the reason I say radio specifically is because of the live factor of it. And because everyone's just there waiting. You do this, and he does this. And you play that song and does this, you know?
Yeah, okay.
And this makes, suddenly these people, it's all just this whole, it's fluid. And the thing is, the difference between, and podcasts are the same, you know, that's why they're working. Because you're filling in the gaps. You're trying to predict what's happening, but you can't just predict what's happening. You know, you can't predict what's going to happen next. And you're waiting to say, and you think that's starting to get quite funny. You're waiting to hear the host think it's funny too, or maybe or you don't think it's funny, and then the host just goes, "What about that?" Oh, you know, it's a ride, you know, and it's something that and because it's happening as it comes out of your mouth or your brain, sort of thing. It's different to TV. TV is prepared as a presentation for you to look at there. If you look away over there, you're going to miss it. If you look over there, you're going to miss it. If you look behind you, it's not going to be there. But if you look forward and you keep watching it from start to finish, that's how it's supposed to work. Okay, the internet's the same. You have to be looking at a screen, be it on your phone, be it on your pad, your iPad, or your laptop, whatever. You have to be looking at it, and it's either prepared or even if it's live, you still have to be looking at it. You can't just close your eyes and it still be there. You know. That's what's. I'm thinking this sounds like it's quite magical. It's but you know what I mean. It's like it's really there's no other medium that comes close to it. Even comes close to being able to do what you can do with radio and I guess podcasts as well, pre-recorded stuff as well. Yeah, but it's really, and I think it's super underrated. I just think this is what annoys me about commercial radio is that the time I spent there, I just can't believe how antiquated some of the thinking is behind it. It's almost like, hey, let's all walk backwards. Yeah, no, good, that's safe. All right, good. You know, like play Pearl Jam and Metallica every hour. You know, like I just don't get it.
Just on the music, Push got back together this year, right? Bay Rock?
No, we got back together and just sort of at one stage we hadn't been in the same room together for 20 years.
Yeah, I read that.
I know. And
by accident or by design?
Not by accident. I mean, we're over each other. Some of us for a wee while there, and you know, there was. But then, say Steve, the bass player who I've been to school since I was 5 years old. You know, like he and I are nothing's ever gonna break that up. You know, like Scotty the drummer. When they went over to Australia and tried to do their thing in a new sort of fashion, didn't really happen. But they all sort of learned and. Yeah, to Andy and Shane, the guitarists, both Andy and Silver, both live over there now with families, you know, and so the others came back here, and so we just sort of banging around, and we'd see each other sort of sporadically now and then one time we were just all going to be in town at the same time, and someone just said, "We'll just get a rehearsal room, mate, and see what happens." And I was a bit sort of, those guys, okay. it'd been quite nice not to be thinking about that for 10 years, you know. Or like I didn't listen to the Push Push album for 10 years easily, you know. And then to go, just all get in the rehearsal room and just within 10 minutes we're just teasing each other the same way we used to. So-and-so's forgotten that stool, like he always forgets that stool. You know, it's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. They play we're playing songs, and some of the songs that we were our biggest, most commercial, you know, the ones that everyone knew, were the ones I was forgetting the lyrics to, and other songs I'd forgotten we'd even written. That's something I start playing and go, oh, what's this? Oh my God, this song. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. The words have just come erupting out. It's like, oh, like muscle memory, you know? And that was cool. And then it was just great. It made you feel like you're 16 again, like absolutely. You know, and also that music that we play and the way we play it and the way we perform it, you get really, after a band break, you're like feeling energized, you know.
And your singing's got better too.
And it's loud, and man, I just love loud, and I love music, and I just love, you know, it's to have a good jam, it's fantastic. And so we did a quick little, we released an EP of stuff that we did in 2017 before we toured with The Darkness for 3 shows, and that was really cool. And then we were supposed to open for Kiss just before the pandemic happened, actually about 3 months before the pandemic, so it wasn't COVID related, but so for 9 months we were going, we're going to have a Kiss at Spark Arena, and we were sounding mean. Like we were just sounding on like what I mean, the greatest Push Push show ever, man. Really? And then they cancelled because a week and a half out because they cancelled their Australasian leg of that tour, and that really sucked because we were just ready to roll. Yeah, they cancelled it basically the night that the Silver and Andy had flown over from Sydney after we were doing Trans-Tasman and, you know, recording, rehearsing with a sort of stunt guitarist over here. You know, it's like, we're really into it, man. That was a bummer. And so, but ever since then, we've been sort of just keeping in touch and like I say, we've got a guy over here, 2 guys over here now who can fill in their parts, who are massive fans, you know, and do it with the utmost of respect to Andy and Silver, you know. But that's who we're going to play with at Bay Rock because we weren't able to get over because of COVID and that sort of thing. But then, so Andy came over the other day, a few months ago, and he sort of come over and he says, oh, yeah, I'm going to be there for 3 or 4 weeks visiting family and that. So, hey, I'm keen to do some writing. And I'm like, are you? Okay, cool. Well, I don't even know if I'm going to make a band break this year, man. I've got other shit on. It's like, but it turns out we actually wrote some really, really great stuff. So I don't know what we're going to do with it. But why not keep writing stuff? Turns out all the bands that I was into when I first got into music, I suppose, like, you know, all these amazing bands. You look at me, you guys are going to be dead in about 2 years, or I'll never see you live. You guys will all be dead. The band will break up, and now all those bands are all still together, all still playing.
Coming back.
I've played with some of them. Yeah. It's just like that's fucking mental, man. You know? What do you mean Jane's Addiction's still going? Yeah. What do you mean? Like I saw Nothing Shocking and thought they'll never see this band ever. This greatest album ever, but I'll never see them. And I've seen them play with Pontiff Pyros and bloody hell, you know.
Yeah. So no gigs on the horizon.
No. There's people want us to do gigs, which is fascinating to me. Yeah, like because but it means something to people. Yeah, and it's definitely reached a moment in the time and chronologically, I suppose that it's definitely reached a point where suddenly it really is hitting people that I really like to hear some Push Push again.
Yeah,
you know? It's like it's strange. It's like for years no one gave 2 shits, and now everyone's like, hey, you guys are getting back together, are you? Oh. You know, so there's a nostalgia to it, but you know, like, I don't know.
I was listening to it on the drive up, obviously, because we were going to talk to you tonight, but it still pops, eh? It still goes.
Still pops, man. And some of them really pop. You know, some of them, like something like Song 27, which is the for people who Push listeners, or 14 people.
15.
Like 15. The Trippin we wrote in like 8 minutes. Song 27 we crafted over about a year and a half, and we finally got to the point we wanted to. And we released it, and it was I can't think it's number 2 or something like that, but it was good. But then it's not till now that people are really like, hey, you know which one I really like? Song 27, mate. That's just, and I'm like, yeah, you finally realised that was a really good track. Yeah, you know, that sort of thing.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's cool. It's I don't know. It's flattering, man, that people still care and are still into it and still like want us to tour and stuff like that. Yeah. Like my knees hold out or something like that.
Yeah. It's cool, man. The whole journey has been so cool. It's been awesome sort of reliving it. Shay's our outro guy. I'm going to start lining him up with a sort of rap on things. Shay, what you got?
Do you do a rap about it? Well, my name is Shay.
I definitely don't do a rap. I try and kind of reflect on what we've done. And
like a mirror.
A little bit. And like it's been incredible to think, and what you said then about kind of being, well, what you said before, kind of being underrated. I agree and I disagree with that. But what I think is amazing is that a lot of your work is just woven into the cultural fabric of a generation of Kiwis, and
it's cool, eh? Like that's. I look at that and I go, like that we pulled that off, or that's been the case is really amazing.
And I think what I liked most about this episode is the genuine humbleness that you've had when we've both been effusive in our praise about things that are meaningful to us, and I can see and sense that it does actually resonate and mean something to you, and I think that's amazing.
Well, in the last, especially the last sort of, since I stopped the last time I was at the fourth time I was at BFM, and I haven't really done anything in particular. That's when people have really come out and sort of sat me down. Can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, can I pull you aside here at this nightclub or at this bar or at this function and just tell you, I know you don't know me, but I should tell you how much you mean to me. And like I say, and you're right, it's not lost on me, man. It means the world that it warms me to my very soul that I could do something that would make people even give a fuck enough to pull me aside to tell me about it, let alone with the depth and sort of acknowledgement that they give me. It's really something else, man. I'm very, very lucky to have.
Mikey Havoc, thanks so much.
Thank you.